If you'd like online business explained to you in a way that you can actually understand, go to latenightim.com/explain. It's completely free, and I made it just for you. Now, how about an episode? Episode 94. Late Night Internet Marketing. This week on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, I bring you my talk from social media marketing world on internet marketing for small business. I think you're really going to enjoy it. All this and more on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
The Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
You've been working for somebody else, but you want a business to run yourself. You want to know how to start and where to begin. Can you get out your comfort zone, my friend? Yes, you can do it right when it's late at night. At the end of the day, your dreams burning inside. So keep it up and you will find that you're building your business one night at a time.
And now, broadcasting late at night from a little studio in the big state of Texas, your host, Mark Mason.
Hey, thanks for joining me again on episode 94. As I promised you last week, this is a recording of a talk that I gave at Social Media Marketing World in the spring of this year. It was very well received, and I think it's directly applicable to a lot of listeners, and so I wanted to bring that to you here. I've edited it slightly to clean it up and so it's not so long. I've taken out the questions at the end, but the stage I want to set for you is a typical conference situation. I was introduced by the track moderator, and I'm up on stage on a kind of an elevated stage with a big screen and an audio-visual guy in the back of the room doing actually a pretty decent job of recording the audio. And I wanted to offer this to you in hopes that you will enjoy hearing it as much as I enjoyed giving the talk. I really like speaking in front of live audiences. People that know me think it's just because I like hearing the sound of my own voice. That's not true, but I really do enjoy this. It energizes me, and I hope that comes through in this as well. Hey, by the way, before we get into this, special thanks to Mike Stelzner and Phil and the boys over at Social Media Marketing World, socialmediaexaminer.com, for letting me use this audio. This conference is the most awesome, most well-run internet marketing social media conference on the planet. I mean, I've been to so many conferences in my life, both as a professional electrical engineer and as an internet marketer. This is by far the best conference I've ever been to as far as size, how well it's run, sort of the level of service and the quality of the content. I mean, this is the creme de la creme. If you want to learn more about social media marketing world, go check it out at latenightim.com/SMMW for Social Media Marketing World. That's latenightim.com/SMMW. And also the slides that I used that were up on the screen, they're available for download in the show notes at latenightim.com/094. So without further ado, let's cue it up.
Let me tell you a little bit about Mark. Mark is the mastermind behind the blog LateNightInternetMarketing.com. Have any of you listened to his podcast? Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast. It's on iTunes. Download it before you leave. He has been teaching others about internet marketing and creating passive income for themselves since 2007. He loves podcasting, and that's what Michael was talking about this morning. If you're not on the bandwagon, you need to get there. So you can tap him for information on that as well. He's also a very busy husband and father and an electrical engineer by day, and helping others learn when he has time late at night to make that money while you're sleeping. Without further ado, let me bring up our speaker for this afternoon, Mark Mason.
Thanks, Sherry. I appreciate that. That's a very kind introduction. Thank you so much. Is everybody having a great time? Yes. This is mind-blowing. I see a lot of white things. Does that mean all of you, this is your first time here? How many of you have been here more than once? Okay, so this is amazing. Michael Stelzner is a good friend of mine, but this is the first time my schedule has permitted my attendance here. As Sherry alluded to, I'm actually an electrical engineer by day. I work in research and development in the semiconductor industry. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But my passion, my hobby, the thing that I do until late at night is internet marketing related stuff. And so what we're going to talk about today is a couple, internet marketing is a very broad topic, but what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of kind of a high-level good framework for you to think about your internet business or the internet piece of your business, whether you're a brick-and-mortar company, whether you're a solopreneur, a consultant, an affiliate marketer, a multi-level marketer, whatever you are, this is going to be for you. And so let's get a show of hands. So how many of you are solopreneurs running a business, small business, okay? And do you sell physical products or do you do consulting? Yeah. Are you speakers? Not yet. You want to be. Yeah, me too. Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Don't worry. I've done this before. If I fall off the stage, you'll know I was lying. Okay. So that's great. So there will be a little bit in here for everybody, and there will, I really hope, my goal is always that you leave here with at least a couple of things that you can take away that will make your business better and maybe even occasionally will make your life better, right? So that would be great. That would make me personally very happy. It's the big reason that I do a lot of the things that I do. So if that happens, you can tweet, and I've set up a couple of these. You'll notice that there's this kind of short URL on a couple of slides. You'll see LNIM, late night internet marketing.co, not com, /live. If you go there now on your smartphone or your PC, provided that you can get a decent internet connection in the hotel, which is a challenge, you'll get a pre-populated tweet. This is using a tool called Click to Tweet. If you've never seen this tool before, it's a super cool tool that you can use with your customers when you're trying to create buzz. And so I use it here because it's helpful to the conference to get that hashtag out there. And like Sherry mentioned, I want to make it easy on you to tweet any tweetable moments that might happen in the next 40 minutes. So we just got to know each other a little bit, but let's ask a few more questions. How long have you been online? If you've been online less than a year, raise your hand. And by online, I mean been online trying to do some kind of business online less than a year. So everybody's more than a year. How about less than 5 years? So that's okay. So that's pretty good. And how about more than 5 years? We have a lot of people that have been online more than 5 years. So that's great. Okay, super. So the cool thing about that is I'm going to talk to you today about some fundamental concepts in internet marketing that are directly applicable to your business, and it's not going to matter too much what kind of business you have, and it's not going to matter too much how much time passes. These techniques are timeless. That's going to be a little bit different than some of the things that you might occasionally see. I'm looking for my water. I left it over here. Some of the things that you might occasionally see at a conference like this, because a lot of times, these conferences are focusing on what's new, like Meerkat, right? Let's go get this new thing. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about what works, and I think that's really cool. Okay, so a little bit about my story. I have these priorities, and I do them all. And one of the ways that I do them is by automating things as best I can. And I live in Texas. This is a picture from the Texas State Fair in the upper left. I have 4 kids. They're awesome. They're the best 4 kids in the world, as you might imagine. I play softball. That's me on third base, trying to decide whether or not to run. And I work for a big electronics company in Dallas, a very, very big, kind of $14 billion company. And then I have this podcast and internet business at latenightinternet marketing.com. And I'm able to do that last thing because of some fundamental principles around setting things up to work, even without having to proactively do stuff. And so we'll talk about that. You know, this is a photograph of Barry Larkin I stole off of Wikipedia. Barry was the shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds. He's widely regarded as one of the best shortstops in baseball in recent history, and that's including all of them. And what he said is that what people don't realize is that professionals are sensational because of fundamentals. And he further says that the sensationalism has taken over the professionalism. What he means by that is that baseball a lot of times is about getting back to fundamentals, and so is internet marketing. It's not about fancy tools and the latest gadgets and the trends, although it's very helpful to follow those, and I don't begrudge those that do. If there's something that's working today, I think you ought to know what that is, and if it makes sense, you can take advantage of that. But chances are that thing's going to be gone tomorrow. And so the question is, for example, should you be out here right now developing a Meerkat strategy for your business? I don't know. I mean, Meerkat has been around for 3 weeks, right? But what I do know is there will be some fundamental stuff that you need to be doing in your business. And so this presentation is about some fundamental ideas that work. Now, as I mentioned, we'll have to apply this to your business model. Some of you are speakers and consultants and are trying to build a platform. Some of you have online physical products that you're trying to sell. Some of you may be affiliate marketers. Some of you may be in multi-level marketing. Some of you may have brick and mortar businesses. Heck, we've talked to people who sell donuts and Mexican food in brick and mortar buildings that this works for just great. So you'll have to take what I say and apply it to your model, and chances are that at the end of this presentation, if our time works out right, we'll be able to take a few questions in case you have questions about how to do that. So, in the beginning, back when cavemen ruled the earth, websites were business cards. That's how websites started out. They were online business cards, and basically what you put on there was your name, your address, and your phone number, because what you wanted was, in the rare chance that somebody actually looked online, they would find you. Or if they decided that that's what made you a legitimate business person, they looked up and found that you had a website. So you had to have one, and basically it was simply an electronic business card. I give you an example here. This is the website from Toyota. It's not exactly properly rendered from 1996, but you can see it was a simple header and some terrible, look at these icons down at the bottom where you could look at vehicles and so forth. Things have changed. Okay, this is the Toyota website from yesterday, and it's a lot better looking thing. And not only has it got better design, this is a tool that Toyota and other businesses like yours are using for their business to do a bunch of different things way beyond business cards, right? It's being used for discovery. How do people find you? If you're the guy that wants to be the best speaker in the world on how to run a physical therapy practice, or you're a consultant and you're a lady who does lifestyle design, or whatever it is, how do they find you? Your website is one of the ways that people can find you. Your website also should be handling for you the capturing of those people. And I don't mean like capture them and put them in Guantanamo. I mean get their name and email address so you can develop a relationship with those people. Your website also now almost certainly is the hub where your social media comes and goes from. And you're managing your branding through your website. Additionally, you're trying to educate your customers. At least I hope that you are. One of the things that we're going to talk about is that even if you're running a donut shop and you've got a website, you should have content that is of value to your customers on that website. That's going to be important for a couple of reasons that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Of course, you may be doing online sales. Maybe you're taking appointments. Maybe you're taking money. Maybe you have an e-commerce store. And you're handling the support and service from all of that. And boy, especially if you're a solopreneur, which a lot of you are, this can get really overwhelming. This website at the center of your business plan becomes a big deal. It becomes very easy to get distracted because you're working on content and you've got WordPress maybe, and you're dealing with plugins and maybe technology that you don't completely understand. You're also probably worried about how the search engines are viewing your content and whether or not someone can hack your website. And maybe you need to take money and you've got to hook up with a payment processor. You've got email autoresponders and spam coming in on your comments. You've got design problems. You probably wish you had a better design. And basically you're just overwhelmed and managing maybe a couple of VAs to try and get all this done. And it's just overwhelming. And that's why I bring up the baseball thing, because really, it's really easy to lose sight of the fundamentals because we start getting emails about all the tools that can solve all these problems, and we'll buy this tool and this training and that thing and all this glossy, shiny stuff. And then we forget about kind of the fundamental pieces of our business that we need to build in order for it to be successful in a reasonable way. So when we talk about fundamentals, it always comes down to your offer. If you've got a website, it's because you've got an offer. Maybe you've got a content website and your offer is an ad click. Maybe you're selling consulting and your offer is a consulting appointment. Maybe you are selling physical products and your offer is that you're going to drop ship something to someone's house. But if you've got a website, you've got an offer. So here's the big idea that you need to always keep in mind when you're working on your website. The key activity of your business, and in fact, I will submit all businesses, the key thing in all businesses is to match offers, specifically your offer, with buyers. That's the thing you need to keep in mind. If you're not working on that, you're probably not working on the right thing. That's the most important thing that you've got to work on, is how to match offers with buyers. And that word match, what does that really mean? Well, it turns out that engine that does these matches is going to be your website. And that's going to be the core of your business. I know we're at a social media conference. I know a lot of you are thinking about how to have conversions around Facebook and how to have conversions around Twitter. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But at the end of the day, I want my business to be built primarily on a foundation that I own. Somebody just told me, I think it was Michael Hyatt, I heard him say earlier, that to do otherwise is like building a house on rented land. It makes absolutely no sense. So whatever your strategy is, you've got this website in the center of it, and the idea of the website, the fundamental premise of this thing is to match some kind of offer, your offer, somebody else's offer, an ad click, whatever your business model is, with buyers. So what we'll talk about a little bit today is how to find these buyers, right? Where do they come from? How do we stay in touch with them? How do we build trust with them? Because that's the second most important thing. And you know what the most important thing with buyers is? To give them value, because that's what they're going to exchange money for, is value. We'll also talk a little bit, I'll touch a little bit on offers and some key points on how to explain them so that it fits up well with these ideas on the buyer side. But we'll focus on the ways to do that, because after all, we only have 45 minutes. We'll focus on the ways to do that will live on. And, Sherry was being facetious when she said, make sales when you sleep. But the truth of the matter is, even though I don't choose to couch it that way, that's really the truth, right? You want something that's going to run even if you're not out promoting and tweeting and making ad buys on Facebook. You want something that's just going to run. So first, let's talk about the offers. So, I will tell you, offers should be rich with detail. And you'll see this again later, my kind of rule of thumb, for reasons that we'll discuss in a little bit, is that your offers should be at least sort of 1,000 words long. And if you've got an e-commerce website, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need 1,000-word product description for every product in my catalog. Absolutely. One of the things that Google cares about a great deal, and to some extent now Facebook, as they start to consider quality of landing pages and stuff, is the amount of content on the page. Your offers need to be rich in detail. There's lots of reasons for that. We'll talk about it. But you should think about the kinds of details that you can add to your offers. If it's a consulting offer, tell me about the clients that you've had. Tell me about what I can expect to get when I work with you. Tell me what it's like to work with you. Tell me about your experience. Expand that conversation. Because if I'm thinking about spending hundreds or thousands of dollars with you, an extra 500 or 600 words is going to go a long way. So you want your offers to be rich. If you're running a donut shop, tell me how the business got started. Tell me it's your family business and that you moved here from another country to pursue the American dream. Whatever it is, let me know about that. Make your offers rich. If you've got a special way that you make the donuts and you take special care and you only use free-range wheat or whatever, let me know all that. I want to know all of it. That's very important. But don't just tell me about those features. And this is a mistake we see all the time in internet marketing. You've got to tell me about the benefits. Don't tell me about the 17-point anti-lock braking system. Tell me about the fact that it's going to keep my kids alive, right? That's what I care about. I don't care about the engineering in the braking system or 75-point airbags. I mean, yeah, I need to know that because your claim of the benefits has to be credible. So you have to tell me about the features, but sell me the benefits. Make sure your offers are clear about benefits. And of course, give me testimonials. Because when I'm making a decision, I want to know I'm not the only one. So even if you're selling donuts, make sure that you tell me about how all of my neighbors love your donuts. Because I need to know that in order to make the decision to get in the car and come see what kind of donuts that you have. And you know what? If you can find a way to construct your offers so that they're a bit scarce, do that. And if that means that you run a sale and that the price is going to legitimately go up at the end of the month, do that. Because scarcity and urgency will make a big difference in how your offers convert. So when you're thinking about how you set up your business, having a recurring promotion, there's nothing wrong with that. Having your products go on sale. There's a big clothing store in the United States called the Men's Warehouse. They have a sale once a year, at least this is the way it used to be. At the end of every year, they have a massive sale, 50% off. Their clothes are pretty nice. And they're pretty expensive. At the end of the year, they create this giant scarcity demand where they flood their stores with people with this once-a-year sale. And that's how they pitch it. This is it. A once-a-year sale. So think about that kind of scarcity. So once you've got these offers, and I think a lot of time for us small business people, it's easy to come up with an offer because that's, after all, what you do, right? The question is, how do you find the buyers? So that's what I want to spend some time on. Now, you know, there's kind of three fundamental ways that you can find these buyers. And maybe you can argue there are more, but I'll argue there are three main ways in the online space. One is advertising. You can advertise on Facebook. You can advertise in Google search. You can advertise, in the newspaper. You can do whatever you want. You run TV commercials. There's advertising. There's organic search, which means that you've got a website that's well constructed, that people are discovering you through Google and Bing and these other things. When they search for fantastic donut consultant, your name comes up. Wouldn't that be great to be like a guy who consulted with donut stores? I would be even heavier than I am. Okay. And then, of course, there's social media, and, of course, that's what this conference is about, and I hope a lot of you got to see Mari and some of the other people that have been talking about how to do conversion on Facebook. That's a great thing, but you don't own Facebook. You own your website, and that's something you always need to keep in mind. And once you get them, once they find you, where do they go? Well, I think they need to go to two places. They need to go to your website and go to your list. Converting them to a Facebook group is fine, and you can get great engagement on a Facebook group. I argue that that's a secondary thing. I'll get you on my list, and then I'll tell you about the Facebook group. Because guess what? Tomorrow, Mark Zuckerberg might be arrested for some heinous crime, and Facebook might shut down. I don't know. I don't know Mark. He's probably a good guy. But I don't really know what is going to happen to Facebook. But I know what's going to happen with my website tomorrow. So I would argue that when you get these things, they should in general be directed to someplace on your website and eventually onto your list. So because we're talking about things that happen automatically without effort, advertising is a lot of work. For those of you that have placed keyword ads in Facebook, and that's a very difficult thing. It's a bidding situation, and so you've got to be very careful. The Facebook tries by design, and so does Google, to take the elasticity out of the pricing in that. So they want to charge as much as you can afford to pay, and that's how the pricing is determined. So that takes a lot of work, and so does work through social media, and that's also well covered here. So what we'll focus on for the next 20 minutes or so is this idea of organic search. So you've got this great website. What are you going to do to get people from that website onto your list? But I guess before we do that, we ought to talk about, well, who are these people? So let's talk about Jill. Now, this is one of these things that I recommend that you do. I don't actually know Jill. She's like a iStock photo Jill. But if you've got a business and you haven't done this, I strongly recommend this as an action item that you take away from this. You should have at least one avatar of your ideal customer. And I would write it down. And I would go to iStock Photo and I would get a picture of someone and I'd put it in there and I'd say, this is my ideal customer. I'm a donut shop owner and my ideal customer is a 45-year-old overweight guy who likes donuts on Saturday morning, and his name is Mark, and he's an engineer, and he has 4 kids, and they come in and eat the donuts and they like chocolate milk. And I would get into some detail about your Jill. In this case, we'll talk about our Jill, and in this case, she's a 27-year-old medical young professional from Texas, which is where I'm from. I haven't met her, as I said, but she's in medical sales. She's tech savvy. She's got an iPhone 6. She's got the white one with the gold back and a clear case, so you can see the Apple. That's exactly right. She's also a fitness enthusiast, and like me, she's planning to stand in line for the Apple Watch. She's dating a guy named Jim, but he's not nearly good enough for her, okay? He's kind of a loser, and we don't know why exactly she's settling for Jim. She could do a lot better. I mean, look at her. And she has a new interest. For some reason, she wants to start collecting silver coins. Now, I don't know why. Maybe her great-grandfather handed her down some silver coins, and she's decided she wants to become a silver coin collector. But she's not really talking about it with her friends. This isn't a thing where she goes on Facebook and says to all her girlfriends that she normally goes to nightclubs with, hey, I'm going to collect silver coins, because 1, they don't care about silver coins, and 2, they would think she was kind of weird. So she's got this secret thing. Or maybe she needs help with a business problem that she doesn't want to talk about, and she needs a consultant. Somehow she's got a problem. So she goes to Google and she types in starting a silver coin collection. And what do you see? When you look at this Google thing, if you're a marketer now, Jill's typed this in, but as a marketer we look at this and what do we see? The first thing that we see as a marketer is good news. People are paying money to show ads for starting a silver coin collection. This is a fundamental keyword research idea. If I type in, and I don't have it here, but if I type in starting a dirtworm farm, there will not be any ads here. No one is selling dirtworm farm stuff. At least I don't think so. But they are selling silver coin collecting stuff, and so that means there's money to be made, because I guarantee you no marketer would be paying for ads that aren't returning on that investment. So that's really good. And so if I zoom in on this a little bit, this part of the listing, these are ads across the top, these are ads down the side, but this part of the listing, that's the organic part of the listing. That's the part that nobody paid for. Google is searching the internet trying to figure out how in the world to respond to this query, starting a silver coin collection. And you can see that Google has decided there are approximately 700,000 pages that meet that test of starting a silver coin collection. So when you look at this, you don't realize it as the marketer maybe, but this is your first conversion for Jill. So this is your first opportunity to convert Jill. And by convert, I mean get her to take an action that you want to take. The first conversion in organic is that click in the search results. So what do we see? Well, Jill typed in start a silver coin collection, and you can see Google's done a pretty good job of these titles. I've got start collecting silver coins. I've got doing it on a shoestring budget. That might really appeal to Jill depending on where she is with her finances, or starting your first collection. All of these have a good match to the search, and so that's really good. So when you're writing content for your website, one thing that you need to be absolutely sure that you do is make sure that you understand this title. You know, it's funny, but with AdWords and on Facebook ads, people will spend hours, days sometimes, picking the exact wording for their ad. The exact picture, you know, they'll tweak it, they're split testing it, they'll throw stuff up on their website and never give any consideration to what this title says. Also, when we look at this, Jill is going to be looking at all of this, and she can see these URLs sort of make sense. This one sort of makes sense. This looks like junk. And so another thing that you want to make sure is that we know from testing that a lot of internet searchers that aren't super sophisticated will see this bottom one and they will distrust it because of all these weird database looking things here. The other thing that you'll notice is that a couple of these descriptions, this description meta tag, speak directly to the searcher in a way that gives them a call to action that they can convert. The key is starting small. That might appeal to Jill. But what you need to realize is this is sales copy, and the sale you're trying to make here is to convert to your website. So, when you're thinking about organic search, you want lots of rich content. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but this is related to Google's Panda algorithm. Your website needs to be content rich. If you're a consultant and you've got 5 pages that talk about the things that you offer and nothing else, that's a problem. You need to expand that website to include content that your audience wants to see. You should also avoid anything that sounds like get rankings quick. Stay away from that. I will tell you, I've tried them all. Almost all of them don't work. And they will get you in trouble. And that's related to this penguin algorithm. So these are 2 algorithms that you read about in the media. Guest blogging still works. If you want to get traffic back to your website, it's okay to do guest blogging as long as you avoid these automated schemes for guest blogging. And Web 2.0 properties are still very effective to getting traffic to your website and passing link juice to your website. Go ahead and release those press releases, release those YouTube videos, release that stuff to these other big Web 2.0 sites and link back to your site. That's perfectly fine as long as you're creating legitimate content. And at all costs, avoid duplicate content on your website. These are just some quick SEO tips. This last one is very important. If Google sees stuff that's repeated over and over and over again, they will derate your website. For example, if you're got a local business and you're working in a large metro area and you're trying to rank for plumbing, California, let's do Dallas. Plumbing Dallas, plumbing suburb 1, plumbing suburb 2, plumbing suburb 3, but the content on all the pages is the same and all you've changed is the title, you're doomed. You need to have unique content on every page of your website. Do not have duplicate content on your website. And remember this, even though I'm telling you that it's really smart to go after this organic traffic, you are not Google's customer. You know who is? The people who paid for those ads around there. So just always remember that even though I recommend that you go after this free search traffic because it runs 24 hours a day, it doesn't cost you a dime, and you should be building a good website anyway, make sure that you always remember that Google can wake up tomorrow and say they're not going to rank any more consultant websites. Or they could start a war on donuts. All donut sites wiped out from Google. And some weird stuff like this has happened. I mean, we've seen Google do all kinds of crazy things over the last several years. Same thing for Facebook. You know, you've got Facebook fans, but you're not Facebook's customer unless you're buying ads. And even if you are, I have friends that have perfectly reasonable Facebook ads that have run and been yanked. I'm not saying Facebook advertising is not a great idea, but you're at Facebook's mercy. If you got all your clients cleverly captured in a Google group and they ban your account tomorrow, you're done. And we've seen it. We've seen Twitter accounts banned as well, and they just go away forever. So that is why it's very important to have this stuff focused on your website. Same thing with Twitter. You're not Twitter's customer. I say this to tell you because that your list may be one of the few assets that you actually own in your online business. That's a real asset that you actually own. And if you keep that list, there are countless stories. In fact, my buddy Jason Van Orden, who's an internet marketer currently living in New York, he has the Internet Business Mastery podcast. He has a story about a friend of his. They had a business, and the friends got crossways, and he lost control of the business. And the only thing that he was able to walk out the door with was the mailing list. And he was able to rebuild that business essentially the next day. He emailed all his clients and said, hey, I've changed. If you want to keep doing business with me, I'm now over here. Right? And so that is a true asset, and that's big idea number 2. And if you want to tweet that, you can at big idea number 2. So in order to get that email address, you need some opt-in box. You need an opt-in box. You can get this from providers like Aweber and MailChimp and Infusionsoft, and there are many. Right? Pick the one that you like. I personally use Aweber. I've been using them since 2007. I think there are better solutions than Aweber now. MailChimp is coming on super strong, and Infusionsoft is the most sophisticated and most complicated tool out there. Confusionsoft, yes. I've used them all. I still like Aweber, but I don't think it's the best one. I don't know that I'd pick that now. This opt-in box is a pretty good opt-in box. I clicked on one of those silver links, and as you can see, I've got some nice content, some links into the website, and an option to get a report and some weekly expert analysis. Guess what the weekly analysis is going to lead to? Sales. They're going to come out and say, you really ought to buy this, and that, and by the way, we sell this, and that, so you can buy it from us. And since you're such a valued customer, I'm going to give you an offer that's going to expire at the end of the week, right? And until before next week's offer comes back. This opt-in box is great because it looks great, it offers something of value, it sets an expectation for email frequency so that people know that the emails are coming, and it's simple to use. It just requires an email. What it doesn't have is those benefits that I talked about. You know, it tells me that I'll get weekly expert analysis, but it doesn't tell me that that will allow me to do better than the rest of the market or whatever I can do with that analysis, or, you know, get rich quick or whatever it is that I can do. And before you tell me that that only works if I have an electronic download, here is On the Border. How many of you guys have heard that? Did you know you can get free queso from On the Border by giving them your email address? So even if you're running a donut shop, right? There's just no excuse for not capturing. There's no excuse for not capturing people's email addresses. You can do it no matter what you're doing. If you're a consultant, you can give a free report, a white paper, a free 15-minute consultation, which is an awesome lead gen tool, right? If you're selling physical products, you can give buying tips. My neighbor was going to buy carpet for his house. The quote was $14,000. Okay, big house, but $14,000. He bought a report online about carpet because carpet is confusing as hell. There's all kinds of backings. Is it wool or not? What kind of pad is there? Do I need to level the floor? There's all this stuff, right? So he bought this online report for $19.95. By the time he understood carpet and knew more about carpet than the carpet salesman by reading this report, he bought the same carpet for $10,000. Right? So don't tell me that there's a business model that you can't have a lead magnet for, because I will come up with one every time. So some thoughts about lists. You've got to deliver value. You cannot be one of these people that gets someone on their list and just sends them offer after offer after offer after offer and just burns them out. That will not work. When you get someone on your list, you need to give them information that helps them do whatever it is they need to do in life. If that's your primary concern, the money will follow. I guarantee it. If your primary concern is helping your customers with your website, money will follow. I mean, unless you're a knucklehead, right? But, if you do sensible things and put your customer first, that's going to work for you. And use automation. And one of the things you can do that I recommend to everybody is you've got this new autoresponder, you just signed up at Aweber, you're capturing leads. What are the 20 things, you're an expert in something, whatever your website is, what are the 20 things that you think people ought to know about, that's interesting about what you have to say? Write those down. If you went to a coffee shop with your best friend and you were talking to him about your business, what are the 20 things that you would want them to know about your scuba diving business or your donut shop? And send those out. And you're thinking, well, I've got a donut shop. I don't know what to send. Well, you can send interesting facts about the history of donuts with some donut coupons that get them in the store, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do here. Set those 20 up in Aweber or MailChimp and have those come out once a week or once every 2 weeks completely automatically, and never touch it again. And now, every time someone finds your website from Google, which was free, even if it's 3 a.m. while you're asleep, they'll get on your email list, and then they will get valuable content, which will do 2 things. It will build trust, and it will keep you top of mind. So when they're at the park with their friend and they say, boy, I wish I had some donuts, they'll say, oh, I've got this coupon from what's his name down the street. Or when Jill is at lunch with her friends, say, man, I've been messing around with this silver thing and I have a great website. You'll be top of mind. And you'll get those referrals on social media, and you'll get the referrals verbally, and they will come from the value that you created. Not from the automated tweeting gadget that you're paying $97 a month for, right? That's not where that value is coming from. It's coming from the stuff you created to help your customers. Another thing you can do with an autoresponder that few people do is start a conversation. I mean, especially if you're a small business and your list is less than 1,000 or 10,000 people, ask them a question. Guess what's going to happen between 1 and 10% of the time? They're going to hit the reply button, and you're going to be able to start a conversation, and that's going to build trust. And my comment to you is end every one of those conversations with a subsequent question, and do it until you have so much email that you've got to hire a VA to help you answer the questions. And you know what else you'll get out of those conversations? Content that should be on your website, because the answers to those customer questions should be on your website. And when you put that content on your website, you know what you're going to get? More results in Google. So the more you engage with people and take that engagement and turn it into content on your website, the better off you're going to be. And you'll drive traffic back to your blog with your list. I generally recommend that you get people used to clicking. So you tell them something useful and you say, for more information about this, check it out on the website. Get them used to making that click. Call them to action in every email, even if that's not going to be a sales action. Get them to click back over your website. And by the way, when you do have someone opt into your email list at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're asleep and making money, make sure that you do something with your thank you pages. One of the things I hate most to see is someone opts into my list and I opt into a list and I get the automatic Aweber thank you page that says nothing. Do something. Give me a video. Here's one from Wistia, which is a great video hosting site, by the way. Where they say, hey, thanks for signing up. If you want to know more about Wistia, you can go to our website and here's some of the cool stuff you can do. Aren't you excited? We're excited to have you. Here's some value. Or put some links back into your website to get that traffic back on your site, right? And say, okay, if you're new to my list, then you probably are interested in this, 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 and this. And don't forget, I'll be sending you email tomorrow, that kind of thing. And all of that builds trust. And you're building this trust automatically. And this trust, eventually, that you're building with these autoresponders and by automatically capturing leads is going to result in people visiting your website. And that will result in revenue if you ask for the sale. So don't forget to ask for the sale. One of my favorite people in the whole world, he's left us now, is a guy named Zig Ziglar. Some of you have probably heard of him. He's from Dallas. I got to meet him one time. He's as awesome as you think he might have been. He says, be enthusiastic. Ask for the sale. For everyone that you miss because you were afraid to ask for the sale because they felt like you were too enthusiastic, you'll miss 100 because you didn't. So just because you're adding value and not pushing doesn't mean you can't ask for the sale. You've got to do that. You're a marketer. You've got to ask for the sale. So don't forget to do that. And you can do that in your autoresponder. And some mornings you'll wake up and there'll be receipts, payment receipts in your inbox if you do that. So Jill's experience, to sum this up, she had an idea about collecting silver coins, or maybe in other cases she might have a pain or some desire. She wants to learn how to play golf. She did a search. She did a website discovery. She found you. She created compelling content, or she read your compelling content. Then she joined your email list and instantly got value. She's thrilled. Her trust in you has gone up. You kept sending her stuff. She's learning about silver coins, and every week she learns something new from you, and she's going, wow, this is really cool. Silver coins are awesome, right? And she's learning all this stuff that she might have had to pay for a course to learn otherwise. Now, every time Jill buys a coin for her collection, she comes to your website first. And sometimes she buys just because you recommended that she buy it. It's a good deal. You told her, look, we got these 1897 Morgans in, and just for our list subscribers, we're selling them for 20% off. They're collectible. Here's what they are. You want them? And she buys them. And all that happens, most of this stuff happens because you set it up 2 years ago. It's automated. And it's just a machine that churns. And instead of working in your business to do this stuff manually and chase all these leads down, you can work on your business and build the machine and crank it up. So the bottom line, last slide. Primary purpose of business is to match offers with buyers. Don't ever forget that. If that's the one thing you take away from Social Media Marketing World 15, is cut through all that other stuff and remember that your job is to match offers with buyers. I don't care if you call it building brand awareness or creating buzz or whatever it is that all these people, media types, want to call this stuff. At the end of the day, somebody's got to make money to pay all these bills, right? And that means matching offers with buyers. Don't forget that some buyers can be found through search, and that's free, and with a little work, that can be your buyers. Once you find buyers, you should capture them on your website in your list so that they're your asset and not Mark Zuckerberg's. And then you can use that list to create value and build trust, which is the most important element of creating future conversions, which you can automate. Thank you very much. It looks like I have time for one question, maybe, huh?
No, this is the last session. So.
Oh, we can go. Okay, we can go until midnight. Thank you.
Let's thank Mark. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Okay, I really hope you enjoyed that. I know that brought back some memories listening to that. It's been a few months now since I gave that talk. Hey, and just one more time, a shout out to the awesome guys over at socialmediaexaminer.com. Social Media Marketing World is coming up soon in the spring. You're definitely going to want to be there. Go check it out at latenightim.com/SMMW for Social Media Marketing World. It's super awesome, and you really should give consideration to going out there. It's super cool. And just a hint, the earlier you buy your tickets, the cheaper they are. They go up and up and up until the conference starts. So consider it and let me know if you're going to be out there. And if you have any questions about anything that was mentioned in the audio, please feel free to leave me a comment at latenightim.com/094. I'd be happy to help you out with that. Also, as I promised in the show notes, you can download the slides from the presentation that I was speaking to during the talk. And it might be even more fun for you to listen to this again with those slides in front of you. In any case, they're available to you at latenightim.com/094. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
You can do it right when it's late at night.
You've been listening to the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Be sure to visit latenightpodcast.com today to leave feedback for Mark. Download special bonus content, access the show notes, and more. See you there.
Until then, go and make some great progress on your internet business. One night at a time.
One night at a time.
You talked about Aweber a lot. You talked a little bit about MailChimp.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other ones that are out there are like, what are your other favorites that are out there?
Well, and it's in complete transparency. The one I use every day is Aweber, and once you're using one, you don't pay much attention. I will tell you that my buddy Leslie Samuel, who you saw on the main stage this morning, he has recently posted a review of some of these autoresponders on his blog, becomeablogger.com, and I would defer to Leslie on that to pick the best one. Okay. To some extent, though, it's going to depend on your business. So if you're very, very price sensitive, that's going to affect you. If you're very corporate, then you're probably going to have a different point of view. You're not going to be so sensitive to price. If you need the kinds of things that Infusionsoft gives you, then you can use that. Be sure to budget for an Infusionsoft consultant. So that's my answer to that.
So I'm offering the first question just to get it started. This is being recorded, and as all of you know, you're going to get copies of all of the sessions, even though you're not physically sitting there. So to facilitate that, we need to have everyone who has a question come up to the microphone and pose that question so that we capture it.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Thanks. Engaging presentation. Great info. And by the way, a side note on the autoresponder, I use GetResponse.
Oh, yes.
For their ability, because they allow affiliate marketing. So that's why I chose them.
Yeah, I really like that.
aspect.
And they also allow your domain to appear in the response link instead of their domain. And there's a lot of features. And they have gotten a lot better than they were 7 years ago. When I looked, they've made a huge amount of changes. That GetResponse is another good one. Thank you very much for reminding me of that.
Cool.
That may be the one Leslie picked as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So my question, Mark, is you mentioned with the organic search tips, avoid duplicate content, of course. Critically important. So what about curating content? If you have insights and you're posting other people's articles as part of your blog because they fit in your topic, you're adding an insight, maybe the summary, and then it links back out, but you're generating traffic initially through your website and then out to theirs. How does Google treat that? Do you know? Do you have any insights on that?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'll give you the 3-minute answer or 1-minute answer and then the 1-hour answer. So the 1-hour answer is I've got a couple of podcast episodes on duplicate content. So if you find the podcast, Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast in iTunes, you can look down and you'll find one with duplicate content in the title. The short answer is there are two kinds. There's content that appears twice on your site that is identical. So it is words that appear on one page, and then you look on another page and the same words appear. And that can be, WordPress is horrible about this. That can be your category pages and the tag pages and all this other junk that WordPress creates. Google hates that. We've got really solid data that shows this. There are ways to manage that, and that's all covered in that podcast. That's different than duplicate content. Curating content is fine as long as, I think Google doesn't like 100% curated content. Certainly not if you're not adding more text than you're curating, you know what I mean? So we don't have an exact number on how much curation is okay, but if you've got 100% curated source, in some cases that's going to be a problem. If all you do is curate, that could be a problem.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a little bit from whatever you mentioned right now about WordPress. I'm Nachi Lazarus. I'm from India. And we have
I've been to India. I love it very much.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. We have a digital agency. We are a white label agency. We work with other agencies and other marketeers.
Sure.
So we do web, mobile, social media. Now, because we work with other agencies, we get different type of requests to do websites.
Yes.
Like it could be different industries like non-profits or businesses.
Sure.
So because you mentioned WordPress, I just want to ask you as somebody who's been this, is there any recommendation of the type of platform? For example, some people say Shopify is better than WooCommerce with WordPress. So do you have any preference in terms of what platform works best for whatever you've mentioned here? Because this was really value adding.
Thank you.
So is there any preference in terms of platform? That's one part. The second part, if you say yes, there are some of them are good, is it aligned with certain industries? Because that's where
and I would say I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer for that. It's going to depend on exactly what you're doing. I really like the direction that Shopify is headed.
Okay.
If I were doing a platform like that right now, an e-commerce solution right now, Shopify would be in the very top of my list of something to choose. Having said that, we've seen a lot of success with the Woo stuff. I love those guys.
Okay.
So, I'm not aware of any data that says we've looked at 1,000 Woo sites and 1,000 Shopify sites and you always make more money on Shopify. But I love the energy of the Shopify team. I love the direction they're headed. They're doing a lot of innovation. So I like that.
Okay.
Okay.
You.
Last question, because the keynote is after this at 4:15.
Oh, okay, great.
Hey, Mark, thanks a lot for being here and presenting. So my question's regarding the actual website. We're going through a website revamp.
Yes.
And we're creating a completely different website. So what advice would you have for that? We're about a month in, and it just seems like it keeps growing and growing and growing. So that's project scope is just expanding because we're realizing the value. And then the content writing, that's also proving a little bit difficult because our content writer, while she understands, she doesn't have the expertise.
Yeah.
So that's
I understand.
So how do you manage that relationship?
Yeah. So with regard to the actual case of doing a total website redesign, step one is to make sure you have excellent analytics on your existing website so that when you flip the switch, you can see what broke. And I would also encourage you to look at a tool like Crazy Egg and get some data about how people are clicking on what before you switch it over, so you can put Crazy Egg on the new site and see what it is they're looking for that they can't find. Because a lot of times what you'll see, and even Pat Flynn saw this when he redesigned his smart passive income site, his traffic went doink, and it was because he had hidden some stuff people were looking for. They uncovered that, modified the design. So that's thing one. Thing two is absolutely positively do not create any 404s when you do your redesign. Make sure absolutely every 404 is cleaned up and 301'd over to some, relevant content, especially if you're creating a bunch of new stuff. Check it and double check it and make sure there are no 404s. Make sure Google Webmaster Tools is up to date. With regard to content, hire more writers. The more you cannot, I'm telling you cannot overspend on quality where content is concerned. Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, if you can, it depends on your budget, right? But you got to spend money for good content sometimes. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, and please be sure to go to socialmediaexaminer.com/feedback. We are in Harbor C, and let them know how much you loved Mark's presentation, and let's give him a hand again.
Late night Night Internet Marketing.
Hey, it's Mark again. I wanted to tell you one more time about this absolutely free resource that I have for helping people who are trying to get the big picture for internet marketing, actually get started and understand what all their choices are. If that's not you, there's no more content. You can skip to the end. But if you're someone who came to this podcast because you're searching for how to get started online and you just can't cut through all the noise, I get it. That was me in 2007 when I was trying to get started. There were so many people throwing offers at me that I really couldn't even understand what all the different business models were. I couldn't understand how money moved around on the internet. And I couldn't really get a grip on what direction I wanted to go in so I could figure out how to move forward. I've created a free video resource for you just for that purpose at latenightim.com/explain. In several short videos, I just explained to you what internet marketing is all about and what online business is all about and the different options that you have for starting an online business. There's nothing to buy there. You just sign up for access and you get the videos just like that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you know someone who's in a same situation, send them that link, latenightim.com/explain. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what people are thinking that are in the exact same position that I was in more than a decade ago in 2007. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. And in some ways, it seems like an entire lifetime ago. Again, that's latenightim.com/explain.
Late Night Internet Marketing.